The Nintendo GameCube is an almost perfect console. The library of games, the controller, and even the commercials were all magnificent. And the console itself just looks perfect.
Alright, perfect may be a stretch. The GameCube is cool, but we could have had the game dodecahedron. Now that's where I want to spend my money.
But today I'm looking at the top 10 GameCube games of all time, with the only rule being one game per series. Starting off with number 10. People love to say that Sonic didn't make the jump to 3D well, like they entirely forgot about Sonic Adventure 2. It's important to remember that at this time, Sega was actively burning to the ground. They hedged their bets on the Dreamcast being able to compete with the PS2 and the GameCube, and it didn't.
We are excited to announce a brand new Sonic game. Oh, that's awesome. What's it called? It's called Sonic Shuffle.
So in order to stop themselves from going completely out of business, Sega put their games onto Nintendo hardware. And if just a year earlier you had told me I was going to get a 3D Sonic game on a Nintendo console, I probably would have thought you were a witch. But even though this is a Dreamcast game, it is much better known for its time on the GameCube. Sonic Adventure 2 introduced a bunch of brand new things to the Sonic universe, mainly Shadow the Hedgehog. The game tells two stories at the same time, both being sides of the same coin. In the hero mode, you play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, each with their own distinct stages and gameplay styles. And in the dark mode, you play as Shadow, Rouge, and Eggman, who play just like the Sonic characters, except this time they're more edgy. The Sonic and Shadow levels function as a typical Sonic adventure where you go through a level at high speed. Pretty much exactly what you would expect from a 3D Sonic game in the modern era. But things start to get a little different with the other characters. As Tails and Eggman, you are in a mech suit and you are destroying everything in your path. And though these sections don't capture the same sense of speed that you would get from Sonic and Shadow, they still mesh with the story really well, and the mech stages themselves are pretty fun and well designed. But what keeps this game from being any higher is that the Knuckles and Rouge stages are just not that great. You're hunting pieces of the Master Emerald, and though it sounds like a great idea, they are overly long and tedious to get through, and they bring the overall momentum of the game to a standstill and are just a drag. But even with the parts that haven't aged super well, there are sections of this game that are some of the most iconic in gaming history. Starting City Escape for the first time and going down that hill is something that I will remember on my deathbed.
It looks like he's gone.
I've got to find my rainbow.
Oh, why did he do that?
During the transitional era to 3D gaming, some games did it better than others. But to say that Sonic had a rough transition to 3D when this game exists is something that I can't agree with. Whether it was the Chow Gardens or getting through stages like Metal Harbor for the first time, I will always fondly remember my time with Sonic Adventure 2 because it is one of the most iconic GameCube games of all time.
But isn't that actually a Dreamcast game? Get out of here.
Pikmin is a franchise that I have loved ever since it released on the GameCube. Though I do prefer to play it on the Wii with the motion controls, playing it on the GameCube is still a great time. As a child playing Pikmin, this was one of the scariest games I could think of. It has three of my biggest fears in one game: a strict schedule, a grade at the end of every level, and most importantly, grass.
I'm allowed to touch that stuff? Not happening. I'm going inside where it's safe.
Though it was built on the false promises of what could have been Mario 128, Pikmin ended up becoming one of my favorite franchises seemingly overnight. Captain Olimar crash lands on a planet and he needs to rebuild his ship. So it's up to you and this brightly colored gaggle of Pikmin to fix his ship one part at a time. Each playthrough takes place on a strict 30-day time limit. And with each day starting at sunrise and ending at sunset, your goal is to maximize your time management skills and get everything done as quickly as possible. With the overall goal of rebuilding your ship, there isn't a right or wrong way to go about doing anything on any given day. It's more about maximizing how efficient you can be at any given time. You have three different kinds of Pikmin at your disposal, being the red, blue, and yellow, who each have their own strengths and weaknesses and will help you solve the puzzles scattered around the world. But if you're not careful, they will die and you will feel terrible for the rest of your life. Being on such a microscopic scale and dealing with all of the enemies and bosses in your way is stressful but engaging. You can have up to 100 Pikmin at a time, but when they die, they are dead for good. They are easily replaceable, but that still doesn't help lift the weight of their sacrifice off your shoulders. But what makes Pikmin such an incredible experience to this day is the sense of progress you feel whenever you beat through the game better than you did the time before. At the end of every level, you're given a scorecard, and it makes me want to go back and try again to improve every single time. On my first playthrough, I barely finished in the 30-day time limit, but now I can easily complete that in half the time, and it's that real progression that I see that makes me love this game even more. And though I love Pikmin 2 with its randomly generated caves and thick purple Pikmin, if I had to pick just one to play forever, I would pick Pikmin 1.
Wow, I might change my mind because this boy is thick.
Though I heard it about Sonic, I don't think I've ever heard someone say that Metroid made a bad transition into 3D, because Prime managed to take the isolated world of Metroid and bring it into first person perfectly. The biggest compliment that I can give Metroid Prime is that it feels like if Super Metroid was brought into 3D. Similar to Pikmin, I do prefer to play this on the Wii with the Wiimote and Nunchuck, but that doesn't mean the GameCube version is bad at all. Even with the backtracking, exploring this world is an absolute delight. The world adapts to whatever environment you're in, showing how much attention to detail they had when they brought Samus into the world of 3D. If you look up and it's raining, you'll get drops of water on your face. And that attention to detail alone is enough to make this adventure feel all the more atmospheric. My biggest worry when playing this on the GameCube is that it wasn't going to retain all of the Metroid charm the other games did. But all of the mechanics that worked well in a 2D Metroid like the Morph Ball worked perfectly in a 3D environment, and being able to navigate a 3D space made it so all of the puzzles felt even more engaging. And though Metroid Prime 2 is arguably just as good as the original, if I had to pick just one game to play, though it's a hard choice, I'm picking Metroid Prime 1.
Let's be honest, Metroid Prime is the best Prime out there. And it's not even close.
When it released, Pokemon Colosseum was everything that everybody had wanted and more. Getting a brand new Pokemon region to explore in a home console game was the stuff of dreams. But they did more than just make a brand new Pokemon region and make it available for a home console. They went out of their way to make it feel different.
You can't take it on the go, but you can blow up a building. I could literally do that right now.
For a lot of fans, Pokemon Colosseum was a jarring new direction for the Pokemon series, because it not only had a much darker and mature story compared to any of the prior main series games, it also entirely focused on the new mechanic from Ruby and Sapphire, double battles. Whether you like it or not, every battle in this game is going to be a double battle, and if you're someone like me, that's a great time. Double battles add a level of complexity and strategy that you don't really get in a single battle format, so to have a game that is entirely based on that idea is a great premise. But double battles weren't the only new change. They also entirely reworked how you were going to get Pokemon in this game, because there are no random encounters like you would get in a typical Pokemon game. In order to get new Pokemon, you have to snag them from someone else.
Hey, that's a nice shuckle you got there. Hey, thanks, I just caught it. Wow, that's awesome. Give it to me.
Now, I know you're not technically stealing a Pokemon here, but at the same time, you kind of are. And I'm entirely fine with that because it makes this experience feel brand new. In the Stadium games for the N64, we had gotten a Pokemon battling experience, but it wasn't the same. Having a full region to explore with all of the battles and encounters that come with it is something that I had always wanted. And Pokemon Colosseum managed to offer a brand new Pokemon experience for fans that felt new and refreshing while still retaining enough of the Pokemon formula to have it be accessible to anyone. And not to mention, this game had the best Pokemon character of all time, Mirror B.
Maybe someday I'll have that much style, but today is probably not that day.
After 20 years of begging, I was convinced we were never going to get a brand new Kirby Airride, but if this reveal taught me anything, it's that I need to go out and buy a lottery ticket as soon as possible.
I just lost my house in a bet, but at least I still have Airride to look forward to. Oh, you didn't know? We're taking that too.
On the GameCube, Kirby Airride was a deceptively simple game. It's a racing game starring Kirby, who retains all of his normal Kirby abilities like sucking up enemies to take their powers, But this time, your goal isn't to get to the end of a level, it's to get to the end of the racetrack in first place. And though the game is pretty fast-paced, it is incredibly simple thanks to its one-button control scheme. Whether it's sucking up enemies or drifting your star, you are using one button for every action in the game. And though that may make the game sound incredibly easy, it still retains all of the charm and fun that a Nintendo racing game has to offer. And though both the top-down racing mode and the standard races are incredibly fun, what everybody remembers Kirby Airride for was City Trial. City Trial has you set up in a small world where your goal is to collect as many power-ups as you can before the time runs out. During this time, a bunch of random events take place that puts you at odds with the other players, and whether it's competing to get a power-up or a brand new super powerful kart, every single part about it is incredibly chaotic and unpredictably fun, and if the new Kirby Airride just released with this game mode, I would still be happy. If you've ever played Kirby Airride, you know this is one of the most underrated games on the entire GameCube. And though it wasn't the biggest success due to competing with other racing games on the console, if you haven't played Kirby Airride, you need to. Mario Sunshine may not be the best 3D Mario game of all time, but to say it's anything short of spectacular is a crazy statement. The game has its problems, that's for sure, but Isle Delfino is still one of the most iconic locations Nintendo has ever designed. From the moment you land on Isle Delfino, the atmosphere is incredible. I miss during the early 2000s where every game collectively decided they were going to make an incredible beach level, but Mario Sunshine took that idea and made an entire game out of it. Similar to how Peach's Castle had the paintings in Mario 64, Isle Delfino has graffiti tags that Mario jumps through in order to get to different locations to clean up the world. Because he was framed and tried for a crime that he didn't commit and now has to clean up the entire island, and they even go as far as to show the trial in the game, which I think is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in a game.
Mario may be able to beat Bowser, but can he beat civil litigation?
Compared to other 3D Mario games, this is one of the most unique, mainly because of Flood being one of the weirdest gimmicks we have ever gotten. Flood is the name of the talking water jetpack that Mario gets that helps him on his journey, and whether you're hovering around, boosting forward at lightning speeds, or shooting things in your path, the inclusion of Flood helps Mario Sunshine feel like a very different game than any Mario we've ever gotten. And I understand that Sunshine may not be a perfect game. Whether you're fighting the camera, collecting all of the blue coins, or trying to survive the Plinko level, there are a lot of problems with the game itself, but it at least partially makes up for it by having one of the most fun to explore worlds that we have ever gotten in a Nintendo game.
It's a shame that Nintendo is allergic to making this game available for sale. Just take my money!
This may just be me, but I'm considering Mario Kart to be an entirely separate series than the 3D Mario games. And that being said, Mario Kart Double Dash is clearly one of the best games on this console. During this time, Nintendo was trying a bunch of new things, and Mario Kart Double Dash is the perfect example of Nintendo's innovation during this period. The main thing that differentiates this from any other Mario Kart game is that you can play with two characters on the same kart. And I don't know why Nintendo hasn't brought this back as a select game mode in other Mario Kart games, because this is what we want. Sure, being able to play as a cow is nice, but if they had a Double Dash game mode in any modern Mario Kart, I think it would turn the world upside down. But that's not the only thing that made Double Dash an incredible game. The new tracks that are available, like DK Mountain and Baby Park, are still iconic to this day. In my opinion, Double Dash had the best variety of new tracks that we had ever gotten in a Mario Kart game. And though it's kind of disappointing we didn't get a selection of retro tracks available in the game, we ended up getting Daisy's Cruiser, so I'm fine with it. Though the controls aren't as fluid and crisp as a game like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I don't have a hard time going back to play this because the gameplay itself is still incredibly tight. And one of the best parts of this game is how strategic it can be. Depending on what characters you select for your kart, you're going to get a different variety of items. This is one of the only Mario Kart games that has items that are character specific, so if you're playing someone like Waluigi and Wario, you are the only characters who can get a bomb. And every set of characters has their own specific items that only they they are able to get, which adds a great level of variety and strategy to the game. And depending on what tracks I'm going to race on, I end up picking a different selection of characters to help me out if I want a specific item. And though this has created a lot of situations where I want a specific item but I know I can't get it based on the characters I picked, it's that level of strategy and prior planning that makes Double Dash an incredible time. And when the whole package comes together, Double Dash is still one of the best Mario Karts we have ever gotten, and because of how unique it is, I find myself going back to play it a lot more than other games in the franchise.
Hey Midas, you want to play Mario Kart? Yeah, but I only really want to play Mario Kart 7. Mario Kart 7? I'm out of here.
Whether you're a fan of Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, I think it's fair to say that both games are some of the best GameCube games of all time. And they're also some of the best Wii U games, but that's a conversation for another day. But whether you prefer Wind Waker or Twilight Princess is a matter of personal preference because they are both incredible 3D Zelda games that are some of the best in the franchise. But personally, if I had to pick between the two, I'm picking Wind Waker because boats.
I'll be honest, if a game has pirates, I'm instantly sold. What about Skull and Bones? If I need to spray you again, I will.
The Wind Waker is absolutely the black sheep of the 3D Zelda games, and you can tell just by looking at it. After Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they wanted to go a completely new direction with the next Zelda game, offering a fresh perspective on the world of Zelda to show the game is not just a one-trick pony. So from the art style to the traversal, everything in this game feels like an entirely new experience, while still managing to keep all the Zelda charm that fans had come to know and love. When I look for a Zelda game, I am looking for a sense of adventure, and that is something that Wind Waker nails. Being able to explore the open seas is adventure at its core, and though it doesn't feel exactly like the typical Zelda games that we had come to know and love, Zelda is very much a game series built on the idea of the journey being better than the destination. And even beyond the adventure parts, the game itself feels incredible. Whether you're sailing around or solving puzzles and fighting enemies, everything about this game's controls feels tight and well made, making even the smallest battles feel fun and worth doing. I never get bored of sailing from island to island and exploring every nook and cranny because none of the islands feel too big, but they're all full of enough content to make them worth exploring. And don't get me started on the incredible soundtrack that makes every part of this game feel like an epic adventure. And though I think it's a little strange that every incarnation of Link manages to find a different magical instrument to help them on their journey, I'm not going to be mad about it because they're always fun.
Are you talking trash about Wind Waker? No, I love Wind Waker, I promise. Too late. I just turned your blood to orange soda.
Now I understand how this could seem a little biased because I already have 3D Mario and Mario Kart in this list, but Mario RPGs are an entirely different series and I am willing to debate anyone on that for at least 2.5 hours. And whenever anyone talks about Mario RPGs, the number one game I hear thrown around is the ThousandYear Door. And regardless of your opinion on turn-based RPGs or Paper Mario games as a whole, everything that you have heard about the ThousandYear Door is correct, because it is truly one of the best turn-based RPGs I have ever played, and I have played a lot of them. After the first Paper Mario came out on the N64, I was just waiting for anything to come out to give me that same feeling. And when I first got my hands on ThousandYear Door, I didn't really love it.
What do you mean you don't like doors? Oh my god, did you just break my door? You can't break these things. These are a 10 out of 10 masterpiece.
As a child, I loved the original Paper Mario 64, but I didn't really get into ThousandYear Door until a few years after it released. I was a little distracted with all of the other incredible games that came out for this console, but when I finally got to the point where I sat down and experienced everything this game had to offer, I understood immediately that this was something special. Every part about this game is crafted with care, whether it's the dialogue and humor that is around every turn, the incredible characters that assist you on your journey, or the amazing world that you get to explore. It seems like every detail that was placed in this game was intentional and well thought out. And I know that turn-based RPGs may not be for everybody, and that's okay. They are an acquired taste, and I understand that for a lot of people, this is not their favorite way to play a game. But if you can even tolerate a turn-based RPG, then I think the ThousandYear Door is one of the best games that you could possibly play. The combat is one of the most unique I have ever seen in a turn-based strategy game, being a perfect blend between real-time strategy and turn-based combat that makes every single battle feel like it's worth your time. And don't even get me started on the story, which is one of the best that we have ever gotten in a Mario game. If I had the ability to wipe my memory so I could experience this game for the first time again, I would do it in a heartbeat. Because the Thousand-Year Door is more than just a Mario RPG, it's a beautiful story full of gripping characters and an incredible world to explore. But before we get to number 1, here are a couple brief honorable mentions. Viewtiful Joe is such a weirdly great game. I'm not the biggest fan of a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, but if every game were like this, I probably would be. It can be brutally challenging if you don't know how to time your abilities well, and it's arguably one of the weirdest games I've ever played. Going through a bunch of different movie sets and watching Joe have a weird banter with all of the different characters you fight is interesting to say the least. And the art style and humor alone in this game makes it something I come back to time and time again. And also, it would be a disservice to talk about the GameCube without mentioning Luigi's Mansion. I can't express how scared of this game I was as a child. And I can't really explain why, because there's nothing about this game that is really that scary, because all of the ghosts and character designs are more so creative than scary. But there was something about this game that brought my heart rate to dangerous levels whenever I touched the disc. Exploring a haunted mansion as Luigi is just a great time, and though I can't put this in my top 10 best GameCube games, I do have to mention it because it's that iconic. Of course, the best GameCube game of all time is Donkey Konga.
I'm kidding, I promise, it's Melee.
Donkey Konga is not allowed near the top 10 GameCube games. Of course, the number 1 spot has to go to Smash Bros. Melee. It's crazy to think that this game was made in just over a year of development time, because it has gone on to be one of the most prolific platform fighters of all time. I have been following competitive Melee for more or less the last 15 years, and it is staggering how great this game has been the entire time. The skill ceiling for this game is so ridiculously high that I would never stand a chance anywhere near the best players of all time, because there are so many little quirks about this game that make it so interesting whether you're a first-time player or a seasoned pro. Just as a game, this is one of the most fun experiences you can have on the GameCube. Melee's Adventure Mode is one of the most unique experiences Nintendo has ever created. Going through a collection of Nintendo-themed levels and fighting your way through all of Nintendo's mascots is an awesome idea. And though this did get improved with things like Subspace Emissary taking this idea to new levels, there's something about the simplicity of Adventure Mode that makes it great to experience all these years later. And even though Smash 64 was an incredible proof of concept, Melee took everything that was great about that game and took it up at least 5 notches. The gameplay is faster and more responsive than ever. The new characters that were added to the game feel incredible, even if some of them were broken. And the fan service of adding characters like Ice Climbers and Mr. Game & Watch made it feel like anything was possible for Smash in the future. In the modern day, we know Smash Bros. As the king of platform fighters, having everybody from Mario to Steve from Minecraft. But with Melee, we had a game that became bigger than the sum of its parts. And whenever I think of the GameCube, this is the first game that comes to mind. I guess we'll never know what would happen if we had gotten something other than the GameCube.
Dude, no one even knows what a dodecahedron is. I'm allowed to dream.